What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Friday Live. I am super excited that you all joined us today. We have a special guest waiting to join. She is amazing. She and I met each other through LinkedIn networking, something we are going to talk about today. I am going to bring up the phenomenal Michelle Craig and let her introduce herself.
Hey, love that. That was a great intro. I'm super excited to be here. For y'all who don't know me, my name is Michelle. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I typically do High Five Fridays where we share a win and am currently an account executive looking for my next opportunity. So, really pumped to be here with Lauren and chat through some fun stuff with the whole job process, which I think we all know all too well can be a lot.
It is a lot and it is exhausting. So, we are here to talk about tips, tricks, things to help. Ask questions. If you have questions for us, ask in the comments. I'm going to pull those up in just a second so that I can look at those on the side. But why don't we get right in it? Michelle, take us away. Let's talk about taking a sales approach to your job search.
Awesome. So, I think for people who work in sales, they're familiar with this, but there are so many people who are obviously looking for jobs that have never worked in sales. And so, just wanted to at a very high level touch on ways that you can be strategic about your job search. So, if you were a sales rep, you would typically work with maybe a set number of accounts that are a good fit. So, translating that into the job search, before you even start, applying, doing outreach, it's really important to identify companies that you want to work at. Everyone has different motivators, different things that are interesting to them, remote, hybrid, not. So really doing the research and identifying anywhere from, 10 to 20 companies that you're really excited about and passionate about. Now, you obviously have to see if they're actively hiring, what kinds of roles, but that gives you a good starting point. From there, in the sales process, you would identify who the right people are to talk to. So it's very, very similar as a job seeker. You're going to figure out who the potential recruiters are, hiring managers. And one thing that I think people kind of skip is looking for people who are in the role that you're looking to get hired into and reaching out to them, making a connection and just saying, hey, I saw that you work at this company, would love to just take a few minutes, learn a bit about your experience. And people will do that. I've found it to be really easy to get people to do that, especially because a lot of companies do employee referrals. So they might get to make some money off of your chat. Um, and then from there, looking at like outreach, right? So how do I get a hold of people? The days of walking into an office or a store and dropping off your physical resume, those have long passed, especially in this kind of remote world and especially in the tech space. So you have to think about, one, where do the people that you're trying to connect with, trying to talk to, reach out to, where do they live in the sense of, are they using LinkedIn actively? Are they not? Hint, most recruiters are actively on LinkedIn, even if they're not posting. But ultimately, figuring out the best channels and then leveraging tools, which we'll talk about a little bit later, to reach out to those people in a creative way. So there are ways you can get, professional contact information and then send a personalized note, email, even, especially for sales, pick up the phone, make that phone call that hiring manager, and just look at ways that you can reach out that are unique and original outside of applying along with, 500 other people who've applied to the website. The kind of other key thing I think that relates to how you'd approach a sales process is all in the follow-up. So I feel like there's been some back and forth on LinkedIn as of late around like thank you notes. Really, really important. Just as if you got off of a sales presentation, you would send a follow-up. Sending that thank you to someone for their time really shows that you just appreciate and respect the time, as well as, that you're on top of your communication. And then along with that, really keeping track of the different roles that you're applying for, the people that you're talking to, and following up if you don't hear back from them. Because as we know, people get busy. A lot of hiring managers that are not the recruiter, but actually in the position, they have their whole job to do, and then they're interviewing, and then they're reaching out. So, if you haven't heard back, like, do that follow up, be persistent. Don't be, don't get too aggressive, I would say. Like, try to be reasonable about it. But following up, I've revived a lot of conversations simply by saying, hey, you'd mentioned X in our call. I'm really excited. Is that still a next step? And just very quick, short, easy. And yeah, so I think, like, again, very high level, always happy to chat more about any of those things. But I think identify the companies, identify the people, creative outreach, and then follow up are the 4 key things that relate to, like, the sales process.
I love that. And I want to add, I can't remember who posted the other day, but someone posted that they got rejected and they sent a follow up to the rejection about, can I get feedback as to why I'm not moving forward? And they heard back from the hiring manager that that was an internal error and they got the next interview. So always ask for feedback, especially if you get that rejection. Or, like you said, Michelle, if you know that's a company you really want to work for, I know there's a few people in my network who have targeted certain companies over and over and over again. You can be persistent. That hiring manager will remember you. And I promise at some point, even if they can't find something for you, they will think of you and probably refer you or help you out, help you network eventually. But like you said, be like polite in your outreach, right? Like, we're not trying to annoy people, but we do want to be persistent enough that people remember who we are.
Yes. I've got the wrong live up. Thanks, Evan. But one thing I did want to touch on too is, like, around rejections. So I have been seeing these, like, horror stories of people who get rejected and then they're, like, awful to the recruiter or the hiring manager. And just a reminder, like, yes, you're stressed, you want a job, you're frustrated, like, totally get all of that. But people remember those things, and you could be shooting yourself in the foot for an opportunity at that company, for someone in their network. So just always, even if you're mad, vent to your friends, call your mom, write a note in your notes app, and then, like, delete it. But always be respectful, even when you get rejected, because I have seen times where something changes the next week, and then candidates actually do end up getting hired because of how gracious they were in accepting that rejection.
100%. 100%. All right, awesome. So let's move on to tools. We want to talk about tools for people who are job seeking, right? What are tools that we are using that are working? What tools could help people in the job search? One that I want to point out right away is Apollo, Apollo.io. If you go to Apollo, you can get a free account with Apollo, and you don't get a ton of credits for free, right? But you get some. So, like Michelle said, if you have dream companies or dream hiring managers, and you've been building those relationships and you're finally got the courage and you're ready to do that cold call, use Apollo for the credit and get that mobile number and get somebody on their cell phone. What do you think, Michelle?
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's something too that's, like, salespeople are used to these tools, and people who don't work in that maybe aren't. And calling someone sounds scary. Like, I used to have cold call reluctance. Like, I don't think Will Murphy's here today, but he had to coach me through calling someone I was already in contact with. And the thing is, you just do it and you get over it. You're not bugging someone if you actually have a good intent and, respect their time, obviously, but, like, come in, be like, hey, I saw you did XYZ. This was an incredible project. I would love to be a part of projects like that. Like, bring energy to it, and people will at least usually give you the time of day. Cool.
Trying to get off mute. Sorry. Okay. So, tool number 2, I think you have a video tool that you use, right?
Yeah. So video is really interesting. I think that it's used some within the process, but could definitely be used a lot more. Either A, within initial outreach, sending along with your note to the hiring manager or your resume, a quick video that's like why you want to work for the company will make a huge impact. And it's, showing them that you care. So one of the platforms that I love is SendSpark. Our friend Bethany over there is awesome. So we can definitely drop some links maybe a little bit later for them. But creating a video for initial outreach, I've been playing with using a video as my thank you after an interview, or even just like an intro convo. And it's just another way to stand out. Like there are a lot of people looking for jobs right now, and you really do have to step up your game and how you communicate and how you like show up in the process.
100%. And the other thing I will say about video is if you're using video for introductions, you don't have to start with a hiring manager. You can start with video introductions just to random people on LinkedIn. Shout out to a few of you in the comments. Drop a comment if I sent you a random video and you had no idea who the heck I was, but the video showed up. Drop a comment if I ever sent you a video. So you
Sweet. You sent me a video.
yeah, forever. You can use videos just to network with people, just to say hello. We're all so far apart, right? Like, don't get me wrong, I like it, but we're so far apart. So in order to feel like we're close together, like put a face, put a video, put a voice, put some emotion. I'm a very like sarcastic kind of person. That doesn't always come across in text. Sometimes people think I'm rude. I'm like, no, I'm actually just trying to be funny. I'm sorry I didn't land this time. But video can open doors for you, and it also teaches you to get your point across. There we go. Look at Evan right there. You can also use it to get your point across quickly, and it will teach you to shorten what you want to say and be very, very precise in trying to get your message across quickly, right? Most people don't have 4 minutes. If you send a CEO, if you send a CEO a 4-minute video, they are not watching your video. If it's over a minute, like, I'm sorry, they're not going to give you a random minute of their time. But I will say videos are great if you use them well. Bethany, like Michelle said, I have talked to Bethany. Bethany's phenomenal. And I know she would give you some tips. I know I've been a big BombBomb user for a while, so I can always throw some tips out there. But if anybody is looking to go the video route, we got you. Michelle knows all about video. She's been using video. How many videos do you think you filmed in the last month?
I don't know, between like posting and sending, probably like 10 to 12. So not a crazy amount. I'm not in the video game like you are, but I'm getting more into it for sure.
Okay. Yeah. So I had to do 50 videos a day at my first agency I worked at. And BombBomb literally let us know. They were like, Lauren, you guys did like 3,000 videos. Like, it was insane. It was an insane number of videos. So I almost joke with people that I used to be an in-person networker. And now, there we go. Evan's dropping another one. Evan, drop a link for us. But now I'm so comfortable behind the camera. I'm really not as uncomfortable in person.
Oh, that's really interesting. I think that's a lot of people, because I love in-person networking events. Like that is my sport. Like I love it. But I've noticed a lot more people are very, very uncomfortable, and they're like, I don't know how to do this anymore. But more on that maybe in a future state.
All right, you got a question from Evan. Have you ever tried Tolstoy?
I have not tried Tolstoy.
All right, Evan, you're going to have to teach us. Maybe we could all get on a really fun Zoom and have, like, I don't know, a Friday event and a cocktail and check it out.
Love that.
Look at Richie. Richie's out here recruiting in the comments. Never shocked. Thank you, Sharon. Hi, Brittany. Hi, everyone else who said hello. Sorry we didn't call everybody out by name. Oh, Evan got us a link. We're going to check that out when we're done. And Sharon agrees with you, Michelle. There we go. Look at that. All right, tools. More tools. We have a few more tools to talk about. Yes, cocktails. Yes. Okay. Okay, tools. Another tool you can use. This isn't so much for your job search, but if you are using LinkedIn to network, let's talk about a tool that will help you in posting. I use this. I talk about it in the accountability group I run. 100% free, costs you nothing. It is called Authored In, just like LinkedIn, but authored in, and it's an extension you can install. It will save drafts of your post for you. So if you're coming out with an idea or you're thinking about something and you're halfway through and you're like, I don't know, you can store it for later. Why is there no? Oh, Evan, let's start that. Okay. Oh, look, Richie, Michelle. Look at Michelle out here networking. Send him a blankie. Is it warm, Richie? Let us know. Is it comfy? Brittany's working on getting more comfortable behind the camera, getting better day by day, super comfortable in person. Brittany, that like flip-flopped for me. I used to be super comfortable in person. I would walk up to anybody and say anything. And now I walk in a room and I'm like, oh my God, these people can see my face. Here's my mask and my sunglasses and my hat.
Stealth
So we're
mode.
doing that. Mark, just heard about the other day. I think you're talking about Authored In because I moved quickly. So Authored In, yes, he agreed. Authored In. Authored In is awesome. Like I was saying, it can store your draft post. But in addition to storing your draft post, it also can make like your post bold, italicized, things like that. You can see what your post will look like on the phone and the computer to help with your line spacing, all of those things. And I'm sure there's something else I'm missing. Anyway, Authored In is a cool tool. By the way, Michelle and I are getting no money or anything for like any of these tools we're telling you about. We don't have like referral link. It's nothing like that. So if we're saying it, it's because we really like it and we want you guys to use it and get some benefit out of it. All right, Authored In. And Michelle, did you have one more?
Yeah, I had one more. And also, like, if Red Bull, if anyone has a hookup at Red Bull and they want to sponsor me, I will happily accept money from them.
Same for Highball, but they ignore me all over LinkedIn, social media, and Celsius has been showing up. So Celsius, send me something and I'll be up here drinking your stuff all day long.
Make some moves. Yeah, so real quick, I wanted to touch on an app called Teal. And again, we'll drop these links at the end. I know there's like a little bit of a delay here, but we'll drop some links just so y'all can check out the websites. Teal is really cool because they're let me look so I don't butcher it. So basically they have a resume builder, a job tracker, and then like I mentioned, you can do research on companies. You can do some research within Teal, you can keep your notes. So one of the key things really in a job search is like staying organized, right? Especially if you are if you're doing a really high volume of output, which is oh, sick. Evan has a hookup for me at Red Bull. Oh, make my day. Make my day. Also, I started using the word sick, ironically, and now it's part of my vocab. So pretty embarrassed there.
My word is dope. It's okay. I say dope all the time. My candidates, we say that, and I'm like, please don't say that in the interview. Like, this is a one love. Please don't say that.
But
Shout
yeah,
out
so
Mike.
Teal for job tracking. I also I'm a huge fan of Trello. I use it for all of my side projects, for events that I'm on, prepping, stuff like that. So I like Trello as well, but Teal is designed for job seekers. So definitely check it out if you're having trouble keeping track. And if you are collecting unemployment, you do have to keep track of your job searches. So definitely make sure you've got it organized somewhere, even if it's just a spreadsheet.
And I believe Teal is free as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
we have a free version, and they of course have an upgrade, but it is free to sign up and use the standard version.
Perfect. And I know I have somebody in my network named Carla, and she talks about Teal a lot. So Carla also can help anybody out with Teal. Sorry to just volunteer you, babe, but I know you will. In the words, there we go. I love this. This is so much fun. I'm so glad you joined me today, Michelle. Thank you so much. Let's see. Thanks, Lauren, for the tips. And Michelle, these are all Michelle's topics, baby. Michelle got this one today. And a must do. Okay, open box in lavender. Yes, they do. I shouted out lavender last week when I was talking about recruiters and jobs that we're actively hiring. Lavender is hiring and they are free for job seekers, right? So you just send them a message and they will get you a free pro account while you are looking for a job. Michelle, do you know about open box? I do not.
I do not know about OpenBox. Evan, drop us a comment with what it is. And then
Evan, we should have invited you on. Man, Evan
I
just has
know.
everything. In the future, you got to come on, Evan. All
He
right.
also, speaking of Evan, he actually dropped a really good question a little bit ago. And it was, where's the line for doing too much work for free in the interview process versus trying to impress to get the job? So I'm curious, Lauren, your take, and then I'll give maybe mine on that.
Oh, okay. Say it again.
So where's the line between doing too much free work in the interview process versus trying to like impress and really kind of show what you're made of to get the job?
Okay. I I will do free work if I am applying for a six-figure role that is leading a team. If I'm not applying for a six-figure role, I'm not doing a project for you. I'm not sending you anything. Hell no. That's just me personally. I won't put forth the time and effort for that. I think that I've shown my work and my value before. You're interviewing me for a reason, right? I'm in the room. But that's being said, I'm a recruiter and I'm in sales. I'm not doing something super technical. I'm not doing something that's like needle in the haystack. You have to be able to show all of these technical skills. So at some point, right? There is a line where if you need to be able to prove that you know what or that you work in Node.js or C sharp or something, yes, you're gonna probably have to prove the technical side that you can go do that job. But I'm not gonna write you like a prospecting list of companies that I would go target and things like that and lay out all of my cadences and give you all of no, I would not do that. So just be like cautious is like what you're doing. Oh, I like Evan's response. But yeah, just think about it wisely and think about what you're willing to do, right? Is this a company that's moving quickly? Have they been like jerking you around for 7 weeks and now they're like, oh my God, we need another project and you already met the CEO, but go meet six more people? Like, at what point does it end, right? So I always ask in the first interview, what is the interview process and what are you going to ask of me? When will this process be wrapped up? Like, I understand you can't give me a, I'm going to hire you in 3 weeks, but is this a, I'm looking to fill in the next 30 days? Or is this a, we have 6 months and we're just going to search for the right person? So yeah. And like Evan said, free work goes up, 20,000 come. What do you think?
Yeah, so I think, this is really interesting too because I think that um like career, like how long you've been in your career level kind of factors into this. For me, if it's a job I'm really interested in, I think if it's an hour, 2 hours to spend on something where, like, again, we've made it through maybe stage 1 and 2, I know they're interested in me, prepping for a demo or a qual call is super common. For SDR roles, I've seen, send someone on our team a prospecting email or send, make a cold call. I think those are really reasonable things. I've seen in some jobs though where they'll ask for like a 12-hour project or a full strategy. And then sometimes companies that aren't so great just take that work.
Yep.
And I think that's where you really have to draw the line. One thing I would say on that too, y'all talked about, the level of comp and the role and how that dictates how much time you spend. I think the other thing to look at is, again, going back to that like sales approach, typically you're going to have accounts that are higher priority or you're tier one. You're like, oh my God, I would give up the name of my firstborn to work at this company, something like that. So I think if it's a company like that where you're so passionate about their mission, what they do, spending a little extra time to show that is valid and makes sense, but it's really knowing how much time you have to give and putting a limit on it, because I have also seen, especially people who are more entry level, spend like kill themselves over hours and hours and hours of writing, an email sequence or something. And that I don't think is fair, and you really have to have that control too of like, I can put an hour into this project. At an hour, I wrap it up. It is what it is. That's what's reasonable for this stage of the process.
I love that. I love that approach. And I agree. There are some things that are reasonable. Doing a cold call is reasonable, right? One cold call or an email, but don't give your whole cadence. Like if you wrote like the best sequence ever, don't give like don't give the keys to the kingdom. Heck no, babe, that's yours. Keep that for you. You gotta pay me for that, right? So let's just remember that. All right. And then I think that was it for tools. So let's talk about our favorite subject. What can networking do for your job search? So why don't you start, Michelle?
So I love networking. Like I'm an extreme extrovert. I'm sure this is shocking to, no one. But even before there was like networking online, like I just love networking in general. There's some content I'm probably going to push out over the next few weeks, few months around that a little bit more. But one thing that I think a lot of people forget is you shouldn't start networking. Like the best time to start networking was yesterday, and not when you are desperate or really looking for a job or you need to do that. It's when you can go in and you can give to. That being said, a lot of people have been put in positions they weren't expected to be in. Like, let's be real. So if you are new to kind of networking or thinking about this, it's a couple of things. One is understanding, a lot of people, I've had conversations where they're like, oh, I have to be on LinkedIn. I have to be on LinkedIn. It's like, well, do you? Are the people that you're reaching out to, are people in your industry, are people in your vertical like on LinkedIn? Because if not, look at other platforms, look at how you can engage there. And then I think the other thing is just at a very like high level, one, nobody owes you anything. And I feel like Evan gets you. I feel like you get a lot of this, and I feel like Evan also gets a lot of this, where people just come in hot and they're like kind of demanding. Like, don't be that person. Go in with genuine interest to just get to know the person. And one thing too is always think about, what you. Yeah, that's a whole session, Evan. Like, networking is not synonymous with personal branding, but reaching out, making a connection, having conversations, but make sure that you offer to like give or share, or even drop little nuggets of, make sure you're engaging with their content if you are doing it on LinkedIn, or ask what you can do for them or how you can help them as well. I think is like a really key piece that gets forgotten. And then one more thing that's a pet peeve of mine is I love making intros for people. I love, helping people make connections. And a lot of times people get that and then they kind of ghost me and they don't ever follow up and say even just like a simple thank you. And so I think that follow-up is important too, because that'll make me want to help you again and again in the future.
100%. And I've also had somebody who, it was another recruiter, somebody asked them for an introduction and then they introed them, but the person didn't respond quick enough. So the recruiter was getting yelled at in the DMs by the person who wanted the intro. It's like, come on, think about it, be polite. Evan, you and I, we need to have a whole topic over this. When you come on, I'm gonna have you on one Friday if you're willing, and we will talk about this, because they are not at all, and people don't understand the difference enough. All right, Evan says yes to the amount of free emotional labor. People think I'm willing to give us 10 times what I'm actually willing to give. There you go. Give back. Sharon says Michelle is an intro queen and an absolute joy. Her tweets are fantastic. So I'm going to be honest with all of you. I was not on Twitter at all. And randomly, I noticed that Michelle was on Twitter. So guess who started tweeting? Me, very randomly. Michelle had this whole airport saga on Twitter, and I got looped in, baby. And I was like, all right, if Michelle can tweet about the airport, I can tweet too. So thanks, Michelle. I don't even think you know that. You're the reason I started tweeting.
I didn't know that. I love it because I've had Twitter for a long time and I've only just started to be more active. And it's like, honestly, it's just chaos. It's mostly chaos. but in a good way. But it's one thing about Twitter compared to LinkedIn too. I mean, right now it's, who knows what the state of the platform is, but it's actually, I feel like people are more approachable on Twitter because it's a more casual interaction. So some of the people that I've engaged with and then been able to have, again, just like networking chats with on Twitter, like shout out like Mike Simmons, Morgan Ingram, like we've had chats recently, all just through engaging with each other and like, hey, like, let's talk. How can I help you? Here's what I'm dealing with. But I think it's a platform that is kind of like underrated in our space and for networking and just like starting those conversations with people.
And I will also say, I tell people all the time, find people where they are and meet them there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still recruiting for a Node.js role in Seattle. Hello, if anybody, Node.js Seattle, reach out, not remote, in person, Seattle. Anyway, I'm recruiting for that. So I found my candidate and they were not active on LinkedIn, but it said they were open to work and their contact information had their Twitter. So if you go look at my tweets from like the last, 48 hours, I tweeted this person that I was hiring for a role and they tweeted me back that they're moving to England. So it didn't work out, but I got a response right away. And I guarantee you that's probably the first time anybody's ever tweeted him, hey, I got a job for you. Are you interested? I'm also currently trying to do some business development on a big account, and the woman that I need to partner with lives on Facebook. She does not live on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
And in a year, when I sign her account, I'm going to tell her to watch all these, that I talked about her and that I was going at, like, this is my baby, I'm getting her. But now she and I are connected on Facebook, so I'm slowly trying to network myself into getting to know her that way. But yeah, so find your people, find where they are, and live there and engage with them there and grow to know them there. And don't ask. Don't ask. That's the other thing I'll say. Don't ask. Give, 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 and then give some more. And when you think that you have nothing left to give, things will start coming back to you. I promise.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, with again, networking, there's so many different elements to it. The what kind of feels like common sense is like give first. And the other thing, like I mentioned earlier, I think is so important is like people, entitled is the wrong word, but people kind of have these expectations, and just approach everything with nobody owes you anything, and maybe they have 100 DMs. So if you DM someone and they don't get back, I mean, you can always try a second time, but like don't necessarily take it personally unless you're being inappropriate and weird, in which case stop. um but look at it less long term too. That's the other thing. I think people don't have this as part of their development, and so they get into a position where they're like, crap, I need a job, I need it now, I'm gonna like blast a bunch of people. And networking is really, really a long-term play. I um I have people that I connected with at an event 8 years ago, and we just every once in a while, like, do we chat on the phone each week? Absolutely not. But maybe we engage on Twitter every once in a while, or LinkedIn. And then I had someone reach out and say, hey, saw you're at Postal, we're actually looking for a platform, let's chat. And so there's a lot of like long-term play and gain in just genuinely wanting to connect with people too, and not just looking at what they can do for you.
100%. And that's true for me in recruiting as well, right? I reach out to people and I try to poach them away sometimes, and they're in a role and they're like, Lauren, I'm happy, I'm good. And at that point, I try to say to you, I want to cheer you on from where you're at. Like, that's
Yeah.
great. I like it when people tell me they're happy. I don't want to take someone away from something that actually brings them joy and is where they're supposed to be. So I had someone that I tried to recruit when I first got into recruiting I don't know, it feels like forever ago, even though it wasn't that long ago. And I sent a video and it was a very quick no thank you, right? Thanks, but no thanks. And I didn't even really keep in contact, but I said, you know what? That's awesome. I hope you do well and I'll support you from here. And then lo and behold, 4 months later, the same SDR sees my post about, if I'm not recruiting for you, I'm recruiting from you, and reaches out. And I'm connected with the CEO the next day. We signed a contract and we filled 2 SDR roles for them in under 30 days from signing the contract to when people were starting with the company. And that was not any way, shape, or form what I was trying to do when I reached out to that SDR to begin with. And in no way, shape, or form did I ever think a business meeting or relationship would come out of it. So it just goes to show you, like, be open, meet people, say yes, and be polite.
Yeah, I love the point about being open too. I think that's another place where, being open to talking to people who do have, of course, like different backgrounds, different roles, different intentions, all those things, is really important. Because if you go into a conversation with very strong like expectations, a lot of times it's not necessarily gonna go that route. Um, I think the other thing too is you kind of have to, like, you can push yourself and also practice. And if you're going to like in-person networking events, like, find an extrovert, make them your networking buddy. I don't think my friend Brett is here today, but it's so funny because there was this, an event that she wanted to go to, and she's more on the introverted side. But we buddied up, we went. I just, marched in, started shaking people's hands, making intros, warming people up, and then she could kind of lean in and talk about, make her intro too. So there's always an extrovert somewhere that would be happy to tag along and join you. And if you need like practice sending like an intro video because you're nervous, it's just, some of it's just like you just gotta get over it. Like, sorry to be kind of harsh on that, but some of it is you really do just have to push yourself and get over it to get what you want and to get those next steps and to stand out.
And I will say, one, if you need to practice send a video to us. We will watch it and we will send you a video back. But two, in the beginning, I was worried about getting my videos perfect, right? I would film and refilm and film again. And oh, I didn't say this right. Or oh, I forgot this. And who cares? I now film the first shot. If there is a major blooper, I don't care. If my dog is throwing up in the background, I don't care. If the phone starts ringing, if somebody barges it, it doesn't matter. I send the video. I could call you the wrong name. I'd be like, "What's up, Lauren?" Oh, I mean, I'm Lauren. Like, I don't care. I will just send the video, and I will put in the title that there's a blooper in the video. And the videos that I send that say blooper inside actually have a much better open rate. So there's a, little tip and trick for you if you're willing to humiliate yourself just a little bit. Leave your bloopers inside and send them out because people want to see you and people like to laugh. And especially if you can laugh at yourself. I always say people buy from people they like, people hire people they like. Being likable is important. Um, don't be difficult for the sake of being difficult, if that makes sense. I know you know the type of people I'm talking about, they exist. So just try to be likable, try to be polite with the people that you're around all the time. You never know, even that SDR, like if you're a VP level or if you're a higher level manager, that SDR who cold called you that you're rude to, maybe the next company you go work at, that's an AE or that's somebody who's a business development manager now who's now supporting you. And they remember you from that one time they called this really rude CRO or whatever. Don't leave a bad taste in someone's mouth just like right off the bat. But on the other side of that, also remember, just because somebody was rude to you once doesn't mean that that's who they are all the time. People have bad days. You don't know what call they just hung up on. You don't know what just happened to them. So I always say first impressions are important, but the second impression is where I really learn who you are.
Yeah, I really like that too. And I think that's something, in sales, I always kind of remind people is when you're reaching out, like, don't take it personally. You don't like, I cold called someone while they had like a flat tire on the side of the road one time. Like, so you have no idea, what's going on. And I think with, reaching out to hiring managers, people at companies you want to work with, recruiters, people for networking, just to your point, maybe like, yeah, maybe their response isn't great, but it doesn't necessarily mean that like they hate you or they're a bad person. It might have been the timing. That being said, if someone tells you to leave them alone, like leave them alone. Just just let it go. There's plenty of people to talk to, plenty of companies. But yeah, Evan always has some good points, right?
Evan makes a very good point here, and I completely agree with that. And I'll agree with one other thing, or I guess not agree with, but I'll point out your LinkedIn is your LinkedIn and it's yours. It's not your company's, it's not anyone else's. Yes, you can like post to promote your company and things like that. But don't feel like if someone talks down to you in your comments, you have to leave that or respond to that or deal with that. This is your space, this is yours. Delete that and move on. Don't let somebody ruin your day. I am a big fan of just block and move on. So just make sure to guard yourself and don't get all bogged down in the haters because no matter where you are, even though LinkedIn is super awesome, there's haters on every single platform. And I'm sure there's a few of us on here right now who've dealt with them before.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. And we gotta get some questions in the chat here. I think, like I said, we can go on and on about networking, but I'd love to hear like what are some of the challenges people are facing? What are some of the ways that we can help from, again, you have like two different perspectives here on job seeking or even honestly like internal promotions as well. I just love Evan. Evan's like not trolling, like the opposite of trolling, but it's just like funny. I love it.
So I will say kind of what Evan is saying, not when somebody ruins my day, but when a sales manager is rude to me, I'm recruiting your whole team away. And I don't care if I don't have jobs for them. I will go find jobs for them and I will give them away for free. I literally don't care. Don't be rude. It's like the easiest thing ever. Just I hate it. I hate when you call someone and they're rude. And then so ironically, those are the same people who are ending up in my inbox 3 or 4 months later who need new VP or sales roles, and it's like, "Oh, you didn't have time for me 3 months ago, and you wouldn't speak to me 3 months ago, but now you need some help, landing your next gig." It's just interesting. Make sure that you are polite at all times, because, like we said, it is a long game, and you never know when you're gonna meet that person again or come back around to have to work with them, in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that applies like across industries too. One thing I did want to mention on networking, um, internal networking is really important. So I don't really know the breakdown of the people watching this of who are actively job seeking, employed, unemployed, but I think internal networking gets slept on a lot. And when I talk about that, it's essentially so for me, like when I had started at Postal, I came in and it was key to me to like start conversations with not only people in different parts of the org, but also people in different levels of leadership. Of not to do any kind of hopping, jumping, anything like that, but really just to say like, hey, I wanted to meet you. I wanted to chat with you. This is who I am. This is like why I'm here, what I'm excited to do, and just kind of like getting on people's radar. And then also, like one of the things being in sales, but having a marketing background was I would talk to the demand gen and marketing team and say like, hey, if there's anything I can do because I'm on the front lines, I'm also in these, SDR chats, these AE chats, like if there are things that you think you could be getting from us that you're not, like let me know and let's work together and have a true partnership.
100%. And I was always a really big fan of having a mentor that wasn't in my department. So when
Hmm.
I used to be in a very corporate setting, I would seek out a mentor who specifically had nothing to do with my team so that I could get somebody's input who worked for the company, who understood what the company was going for or through, but could help me as an individual as well. You got a question from Evan. Here we go.
Yes. Okay. So what are your tips for someone who's afraid to network in public on social media? Um, I mean, I think this can come from a lot of places. Some of it is just maybe they're just not a very like social media inclined person. Maybe they're nervous they might post the wrong thing. One thing I think to think about is always like, be respectful, be really, smart about what you're posting. If you're not sure if it's appropriate for the platform, it's probably not. Maybe don't post it. But you can start really small. It can literally be showing up and simply, commenting or even like DMing people, engaging on their content before you're putting stuff out there. The other thing to keep in mind is we think about ourselves a lot more than other people think about us. So this is something that I have to think about because I don't know, I'll post like a video or I'll say something and sometimes I'll spiral in my own head of like, oh my gosh, this or that, or the person didn't respond or whatever it is. And then at the end of the day, it's like, oh no, they were just like at lunch or it's not like we think about ourselves so much more. So again, ensuring you're being respectful. You're not like to Evan's point being homophobic or homophobic. God, I need another drink, like Red Bull over here.
All
Um,
right. Judith says Department of Three is now down to one due to employees leaving. How do I approach compensation for filling all the roles while they find more employees? So, Judith, just clarify for me, are you recruiting? Are you doing the work of three people? Give me some clarification so that I can kind of understand that a little bit more. Oh my goodness. Evan cracks me up with these. Nope, can't do it. Yeah, Evan, I'm right there with you. Evan, I think Evan and I might get kicked off LinkedIn if we do one of these together.
oh, so I think what Judith is asking is, she's now doing the work of three people. So how does she ask management for compensation of this now like tripled workload?
So if that's truly the case, um there's not really a wonderful way to tell you this, right? most companies aren't going to pay you for doing the work of 3. So this is where you have to set personal boundaries of my work ends at this time and I am done at this time. I don't know if you're an hourly employee or if you're a salaried employee or things like that. I'm happy to try to like discuss some extra tips with you in DMs, but mainly when you're doing the work for multiple people because of a department like restructure or something like that, or employees leaving, typically they're not going to pay you more, right? And this is also when you see that they're giving out like a bonus to somebody who signs on right away. It's so annoying to the employees who are there currently. So Judith, I just always recommend to everyone, in addition to whatever other advice I give you, please be networked with a recruiter. Please have somebody who knows you, who knows who you are. Network with a few recruiters. It doesn't have to be just one. But don't just think that your job is the end all be all. And this isn't just for Judith, this is for everyone, right? Like that job that you love could be gone tomorrow, whether you like it or want to believe it or not. And it's the hardest thing for me to actually say out loud, but it is true. If I got in a car accident and died, my job would be posted like within 8 hours before my obituary hit the news, right? Like that's just the way it is because life goes on. So Judith, definitely you need to talk to these not the hiring managers, but I'd go to your immediate supervisor and explain the increased workload, right? You need to have facts presented. You need to explain what you're doing. You need to like don't just walk in and be like, this isn't fair. That will not work. So take some time, really write out what extra you've taken on, how much extra it's taken you, and how much that is actually worth to you. And then I will tell you, have a number that you're willing to settle on. If they're willing to give you something, but not everything, that's happened before where somebody was given like a bonus to be like an acting manager while they filled the new position. So they might be willing to give you something like that or like a one-time payment. But I would just say don't go in with only like it's got to be this or nothing. Be flexible and see what they're willing to work with you on. But definitely go to your immediate manager, talk to them. Don't vent out, vent up. Don't complain to people around you. It sounds like you don't have anybody around you to complain to. But make sure you're going up to your manager and not to your coworkers when you're talking about issues like that, in my opinion.
And
All
bring a
right, Dion.
solution.
What?
Bring a solution. Like have a
Yeah.
plan, have a solution.
All right, you want this one?
Yeah. So, Dion, look at those profiles. You should absolutely be doing that. Um, I would say I'm careful about like outreach prior to, like sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But like I don't want to like blow up somebody's inbox just because I know we'll be interviewing the next day or something. But definitely look at the profile, know the person you're interviewing with, see if there's something that you can connect on. If it comes up, see, what kind of posts they've been engaging with. Like I talked to someone today, they're massive on learning and reading and have like an actual pinned list of books they recommend everybody read, right? So definitely don't be afraid. And it shows you're doing your research and you're prepping too. And that's something that's really important, again, especially right now, is showing that you want to be there in that interview. So absolutely look at their profile. Lauren, I'm kind of curious your opinion on like connecting with the people beforehand. I typically won't connect until maybe like after we've met in that scenario. But it all kind of just depends too.
So before I've secured the interview, I'll connect with anyone.
Sure.
Once I've secured the interview and I know who I'm interviewing with, I will definitely go look at their profile, but I don't really connect or reach out because I already have an
Mhm.
interview secured. And I always tell somebody, like, do you want to say the wrong thing before you get to the interview and not get the interview? Like, just be careful. So if you
Yeah.
know who you're interviewing with, do research. One thing that I did when I was trying to get into recruiting, I hadn't been a recruiter before. I actually listened to a podcast that one of the people were on, and I was interviewing with him. So I listened to a podcast so that I could learn about him and hear about like things he was into. And I tried to like learn some personal stuff because typically podcasts you talk about a little bit of personal and a little bit work. So I
Mhm.
tried to learn some personal stuff so that I could get to know him a little bit more. And then when I actually got on the interview with him, try to if there's anything that you can make a common connection with when you get on an interview, especially if it is a Zoom interview, um I saw that this guy was using a Rocketbook, a notebook, and it's the same notebook I use. And I was like, "Oh my god, there's my connection." And by the end of the interview, we were talking about how we both love this notebook and we use it together. So, um just try to find something else that you can connect with, and I wouldn't necessarily say reach out ahead of the interview, but look at the profile, do the research, know who they are. When I'm doing business development, I typically try to even know who your boss is so that if you shoot me down, I'm like, oh, what? You got to talk to Tony? Like, let's go talk to Tony. Like, I want to have the name right here ready to go. Awesome. So there seems like there's recruiters on here you can connect with. I don't know why it's not showing me the name. And yeah, Judith, if you need more advice, just send us a DM. We will definitely help you out some more. Thank you, Tom. Tom's one of our favorite people too. Everybody go check out the SD Lab. Tom is friggin' incredible. And Tom is actually, in my opinion, the cold calling king. I've seen Tom cold call so many times. Michelle, I saw you cold call sometimes too. But Tom is definitely, in my opinion, the friggin' genius when it comes to cold calls. So definitely go check out the SD Lab. And yeah, this was fun, Michelle. Thank you so much for joining me.
This was so good. Like I had so much fun. I'm always around if you want to bring me back on, talk more about pretty much anything and everything. I love to be here and glad we got to do it. People feel free to shoot me a message, DM. I'm happy to chat. Oh, we have another question too. Let's see.
Okay. I do have a question. Would love your feedback as I'm going on 3 months of unemployment. I have been international with I think you mean intentional with my job search. This last rejection was painful. I had a colleague refer me in, interviewed for one position, 5 interviews, and was told no, they really want someone in Austin already. Then the internal recruiter, she is amazing, had me interview another sales position that was geared towards renewals and upselling. First 2 interviews, I feel great about the last panel walk. What? I'm confused.
Yeah, I guess what's the question? It sounds like, I think it sounds like maybe dealing with a little bit of struggle, maybe like insecurity after being unemployed for a while and going in and still having that confidence and framing that maybe. Yeah, Sharon, if you want to maybe specify like what the question is, now that we have the context, we can answer a little bit more carefully. I think if it is around, feeling a little, especially, if you're part of a rift, that's a whole, again, other topic, but like you have to rebuild your confidence. Or if you're let go for any reason, then, oh, I see. Evan's saying, I think we should, you just have to figure out how to like hype yourself up, whether that's talking to a friend, whether that's chugging a Red Bull and like vibing to music, whatever you have to do, just make sure you kind of get yourself hyped up. And to a degree, when it comes to a mindset, sometimes you got to fake it till you make it. Sometimes you have to put that smile on and show up and give it everything you have. And then maybe you have to take a nap on the couch after. And like, that's okay too.
Yeah. Feel free to DM us, Sharon. I know that the comment is a little long, I guess. It wants to see the top of our head. It won't display the entire comment on the stream. But my advice in that opinion is when you get to the point where you're frustrated with the company and you don't think you would want to work for that company anymore because of the process you've been through, if the taste is bad before you get there, it's probably going to be bad while you're there.
Yeah.
So if you're already like, I don't like these people, look at what they're putting me through, like, why would you stay in that interview process? You're already unhappy and you haven't even started the job. It was like somebody asked me at one point, they're like, well, why would I tailor my resume for different jobs? And I was like, well, why wouldn't you tailor your resume if you didn't actually want it? Like, do you actually want that job? Do you actually want to make 120,000? Do you actually want to manage a team of 12? So change your resume and make it say that. Do you actually want it? Or is it like, oh, this job would be okay to have? Don't apply for jobs that would be, it's okay to have.
Yeah.
Apply for the jobs you actually want and that you think you would really enjoy to do and to be at the company and the people. Like if people were like, oh my God, you could go work with Michelle, I'd be like, where? We tried to recruit Michelle Richie. Like Michelle's amazing. And Darren McKee says this a lot on his LinkedIn too. People aren't following companies anymore. People are following people. If Evan went and works for someone and he was like, I got Michelle, hey Lauren, what's up? Let's partner, let's recruit. Like, I want to go work with the people I want to work with. And it's so much more than a company at this point. So just remember that too.
Yeah. Love it.
Awesome. All right, cool. Well, we have 5 more minutes, but I think we'll just wrap early. We'll be those really cool people who end the meeting a little bit early and give people back their time.
I love it. Lauren, thank you so much. Like I said, this was awesome. This was really fun. A great way to end a Friday too. Well, and it's 3:00. Let's end.
It's 4 for me. I'm done. I've had a day. I have a lot of people in active interviews. Go candidates, go. I see you all. Fingers crossed for all of you. And if it isn't your time yet, keep pushing, y'all. It will come. I always tell people when you're not expecting it, when you're at that moment, the light is at the end of the tunnel, but you got to keep walking to get there. There's no train coming at you. You're walking out of this tunnel of darkness, but you have to keep going to get out. And when you get frustrated and you stop, there's no movement. So keep going and keep pushing.
Love it.
All right, guys.
Have an amazing
Happy Friday.
day.
Bye.
Bye.